Hi, I'm Ben Wadilla. Today on Saturday Mechanic, we're going to talk about basic tools for the home mechanic. So if you're new to wrenching on your own cars or your own motorcycles or even your own house, it's a little daunting to sometimes buy the tool set that you'll need. You'll end up going back to the store 10 times in order to get the basic 10 tools that you need to do all this stuff. But we've put together a basic list of the things that you'll need in order to get most jobs done. You've got your basics. You've got pliers, like these three here. They come in a variety of types. They call them lineman's pliers, but these are good solid pliers, and they come with a cutting angle on the inside, good clamps, and they've actually also started to add a high torque, high compression force surface in there that you can really clamp down on stuff with. There's also the slip joint pliers that you can use in cases where you need to clamp onto bigger stuff. These can sometimes come with clips as well. I actually like these the best, the needle nose pliers. They're super versatile for reaching down into things and grabbing small little fiddly things. They've got a good cutting surface on the inside, and these are the ones I go to most of the time. Another thing that you're obviously going to need is screwdrivers. They come in a variety of lengths and actually tip sizes as well. You get the standard screwdriver, which people call flathead as well, and Phillips, which has a crossed end. Most screws and fasteners these days come with Phillips. If you're working on something old, they're almost always going to be a standard head. Be sure to get at least 3 sizes of each. So you get the small, medium, and large, so that if it's at a distance, you can access it. And if it's down deep in somewhere, you can get in there. They also come in a variety of actual sizes. So this would be the smaller Phillips size. This is more of a medium to large Phillips size. So be sure to get a variety of those as well. Another obvious one would be combination wrenches. They call them combination because you've got the box end here, and then you've got the closed end here. These are great for all kinds of work, especially really tight work where there's not a lot of room to get into a space that you're taking a fastener off or putting it on. You want to use this for doing the bulk of the loosening, but if something is really on there tight, you want to use this end because this grips the bolt end or the nut end a lot more effectively and prevents stripping. On that same vein, you're definitely going to want to get a ratchet set or socket and ratchet set. For the first-time buyer, I recommend a 3/8 drive. And the drive refers to this. The end here is 3/8 of an inch across. And this is a good all-around ratchet size for most everybody uses these. I use these the bulk of the time on cars because they're a lot easier to access smaller spots. So you want to get one that's got metric and English socket sizes so that you have the versatility on whatever parts you're working on. You're always going to have the right size. You're also going to want to make sure and grab at least one extension like so, because you never know what you're going to end up getting into that's far away. Now obviously you can get a longer extension, you can stack extensions, you can also get deep well sockets, and you're probably going to want to get spark plug sockets as well. There are a variety of spark plug socket sizes. These are good for lawnmowers, cars, pretty much anything that comes with a spark plug. Now, if you're getting a little bit more advanced, you'll probably want to also get deep well sockets, and that's as far as you want to get until you decide to make the next step up in your tool purchase, and then you'd get the 1/2-inch drive sockets, which have the same accessories, but that's exactly what you're going to want. It's more torque. But for the home and basic mechanic, it's a 3/8 drive is totally the way to go. The next thing that you're probably going to want to get is a good old hammer. This is the ball peen style hammer. So it's got a ball end on it and a flat end on it, and you want to get a good heavy one. This one's 24 ounces, which might be a little heavy for most folks, but if you're going to get a hammer that you're going to use to hit stuff, get a heavy one. You don't necessarily need to step up to the mini sledge style for right away. You're just going to end up damaging things if you don't know what you're doing anyway. So get a ball peen. 20 to 24 ounces is probably a good start. And speaking of wrecking things, you're probably going to want some kind of crowbar as well. The basic old style crowbar works perfectly well, but I just found this one recently actually, and I like this one. So it's got an adjustable head on it that you can push this button and you change the angle of attack basically on your lever, which is really cool when you're getting into hard situations. And it's got a nice handle on it that isn't quite as painful to use if you're really wrenching on it all day. All right, the next thing, and one of the more versatile tools in your toolbox, is the razor knife, or some folks like to call them box cutters. You can use this for almost any kind of cutting that you need to do on your car. Let's say you need to strip wire for a new lead on something. You can do that with this. You can cut hoses and plastics and pretty much any kind of fabric. It's a great thing that always slips right into your back pocket, assuming it's closed. And it's the kind of tool that you keep and just reuse and reuse and reuse. It's totally worth the $3 or $4 to get one. Another thing that's really important for the home mechanic to have is a multimeter, like this guy. This is kind of a complicated one. I use it all the time though for almost all the stuff that it can do. With a multimeter, you can measure current, voltage, resistance. This one will even do temperature, which is a really cool feature. Basically, anything in the electrical system that you want to test, you can test with this thing. Let's say if you want to test the continuity in a wire that runs from the back to the front of the car, you can plug one of these ends in to one side, one to the other, and you can see if that wire is broken. You can test resistance on any number of components that might have failed. If you're going to get one of these things, I like them when they come with the auto ranging feature, which saves you a lot of time and blown fuses. I also like to get gator clips like these that can screw on the end, and basically that makes clipping onto pieces of wire in the car a heck of a lot easier instead of just holding them in there like that. An invaluable tool in the mechanic's toolbox. And a lot of you might be saying, well, if it measures electric items in the car, why not just get an OBD2 scanner? Well, you can get an OBD2 scanner, and they're pretty cheap these days, but you can also rent them. And an OBD2 scanner can only tell you things that are in the software side of the car, really. It tells you the codes and the faults of your car, some of the sensor settings, things like that, but you can't really test components specifically. Plus, you can rent an OBD2 scanner for free from most auto shops, which is, I mean, free is pretty good, and you don't have to worry about a broken device down the road. So while an OBD2 scanner is free, multimeters are not. A good one will probably start at $80. A really good one is well into the hundreds of dollars in range, but for the home mechanic, it's so invaluable that it's worth buying a good one to start. So moving on, we've got two more items on our table. One is a jack stand, and really it's going to be a combination of jack stand and jacks that you're going to want to buy, because if you're going to work on your car, you're going to want to put it up in the air. When you're buying a jack stand, or jack set I should say, buy them as a set if you can. This one is set up for 3 tons, and its corresponding hydraulic jack is also 3 tons. If you're not working on cars that are 3 tons, you probably don't need that big of a jack stand and jack. So buy based on what you can afford and what is appropriate for the vehicle you're working on. Don't buy cheap on this kind of stuff. I know it's tempting to go for the Chinese-made product that's half the cost of a good quality built name brand jack and jack set, but if you're under a car, it's best to have a product that you can trust and you are certain won't fail on you. If you're only doing basic repairs with your car, you can get away with 2 jack stands. It's always better to have 4, so if you really need to, you can put the car all the way up in the air. So this 16-inch lift height is probably more than enough for most home mechanics to do stuff like work on their exhaust, work on the suspension, brakes, that kind of stuff, and it's, you know, easy to store too. We can also talk about the hydraulic jack that goes with it. So this is our hydraulic jack, the counterpart to the stationary jack stand. This is the piece that's designed to get the car off the ground into the air, but it is not the piece that you should rely on to keep it there. Basically, the idea here is roll it under the car and utilize the leverage or force in a hydraulic cylinder that's underneath here in order to lift this plate, this lever here, and contact a solid flat piece under the car that offers you some good purchase, usually subframes, anything like that. But like I said, this is the piece that's designed to lift your car, not so much keep it there. So this particular model has got a handle that is geared down here at the bottom so that it locks a valve, and when that valve is locked, you can pump this up, and what that's doing is it's pushing hydraulic fluid from one cylinder into another hydraulic cylinder, and that secondary cylinder has got a lot more force, a lot more surface area. So that lifts the car up. This one's 3 tons, so it'll lift 6,000 pounds worth of whatever you want. And so when you've got that thing up there, let's say we've got it lifted up to our, let's say this is even here, right? So if you lift the car up like so, you want to use this to lift it to this level, but you want to use this jack stand to contact another part of the car underneath. So raise that up to about the level of the jack here, and lower the hydraulic pressure so this drops away. Keep it close, but don't rely on this to hold the car up, because it's very important to note that this thing is on wheels, so it can roll, first of all, but it also has many more failure points than this. This is just a couple of pieces of metal. So if a hydraulic seal in here fails, or one of the valves fails, this thing can come crashing down with you underneath it, and that's bad. So jack stands, at least 2 of them on either side of on the side of the car that you're working on. 4 if you're working with the car off the ground, obviously. And really, it's better to have jack stands than blocks of wood or blocks of concrete. That's how the old Shade Tree Dangerous mechanics used to do it. Jack stands are the way to go. So get yourself a good set, sized appropriately for the cars you're going to work on. All right, so we've talked about all these tools and what you can do with them, but if you can't see what you're doing, they're kind of useless. So another great tool that you definitely need to get is a good shop light that's supposed to start all the time. This one is fluorescent, obviously, and a wand type. You can also get a bulb type, but those tend to break a lot easier. This one also has a good hanger on the end, and at the butt end, you get a second socket, which is super convenient if you're working somewhere awkward. You can just plug your power tool in there, and totally worth the 15 or 20 bucks that they're gonna cost. So that is more or less all the tools you need to get everything done on your car. There are a couple of things that I would recommend as bonus round for making your life a little bit easier. First and foremost, WD-40 or some kind of penetrating oil. It's amazing how, like, spraying this on this or PB Blaster or something like that, spraying that onto a stuck bolt 20 minutes ahead of time will make your life so much easier before you try to get it off. And in that same vein, this may look like just the length of pipe, but this is a breaker bar. The idea behind a breaker bar is torque multiplication. Let's say you've got a really frustrating bolt that won't come off and you really need it off today. So what you do is you put your socket or your wrench on the end of that and you slide this on, and as you load down that bolt, you've got, instead of 9 inches worth of torques to multiply it with, now you've got 3 feet to go with. And these work with either your socket or your combo wrenches. So it's a good way to break tools too. So that's probably a reason to go with a tool manufacturer that has a lifetime warranty on their parts for a free replacement. That's why I'm always at the store replacing tools sometimes too. I think that's pretty much all I've got for the basic tools that you need to get almost anything done on your car. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer them.